and welcome back. So today we're going to be covering zero factor property. So this is when you have two values or terms being multiplied that together equal zero. So this implies that one or both is already equal to zero. And today I'll just give a few quick examples. Alrighty, so the first one we'll do, and I kind of want to do it in this format so you guys can work along. But yeah, okay. So do 5x plus 7 multiplied by x equals 0. And we're just going to work through them step by step. Okay, so the first part is pretty straightforward. But what we're going to do is you're going to separate them into two different equations that are both equal to 0. So you're going to have 5x plus 7 equals 0 and x equals 0. We'll start with x equals 0. That one is basically done. There's no other manipulation that you need to do. And then we'll move on to our second equation, 5x plus 7. So this one just takes a little bit more algebra, but reminder that our goal is to get the variable alone on one side. So we'll subtract by 7 on both sides, which will cancel out on the left and leave us with 5x equals negative 7. And then again, to get this x alone, we'll divide by 5 on the left and on the right, which will cancel out these 5's over here, and then x equals negative 7 divided by 5. So these are the values of x that we get, and then we just want to make sure that we can check them. So we'll just plug them back in to our original equation, 5x plus 7 multiplied by x. Keep forgetting that parentheses, which is important not to do. And then I'll change colors, and we'll start with this x equals 0. So you're just going to plug in for x. You'll do 0 for both of those, since this is the value that we're testing. We'll do 5 times 0 plus 7, these big parentheses, times this 0 equals 0. And if you've done algebra recently, it's kind of obvious just because anything multiplied by 0 equals 0, but we're going to see it through and we're going to work through our check. So this 5 times 0 equals 0, and then we just drop this 7, so 0 plus 7, parentheses, times the 0 in this one. So we get 7 when we add these two together, times 0, so 7 times 0 equals 0. So this checks out that once we've plugged in x for x equals 0, we end up back with this full equation equals 0. So that is a possible solution. And then we'll do the second one that we had over here, x equals negative 7 divided by 5. So again, we'll just have our OG equation. And then we're going to plug in this value right here for x, for both of them. Alrighty, and this can look complicated, but again, we're just trying to get at least one of these to equal 0. So we'll put 5 times negative 7 over 5. This is going to have to shift over, but it's okay right now. Plus 7, right in our big parentheses, multiplied by negative 7 over 5. Okay, and then again, this is just algebra. It's going to look a little messy, but it's okay. Maybe I'll change color. That'd be too messy. But we're just going to multiply this part right here first. So we just multiply across. So 5 times negative 7, so we have negative 35 over 5 plus our 7 right here, which is in its own parentheses, times negative 7 over 5. There's not much we can do with this one right here, so we're just going to leave it. And then we're going to simplify this one even further. So negative 35 divided by 5 is just negative 7. So we have negative 7 plus 7, which you can see it's starting to come together here, times negative 7 over 5. And this is just like a straight mark. Okay. And all of this, I should have been drawing out this negative 0. I'm just doing the algebra right now. But this is getting to the bottom, so it's kind of risky. But negative 7 plus 7 is 0. times this negative 7 divided by 5, and anything times 0 equals 0. So this checks out as well. So for this we know that x equals negative 7 divided by 5 is also a solution. So then your answer would just be written x equals 0, comma, x equals negative 7 divided by 5. Alrighty, okay, so this is the first problem, and then I also have a second problem that I want you to work through that I'm just gonna write out really quickly. And then this is so cliche, but you can pause the video and then work through it, because I'm not necessarily going to work through each step, but I am going to show the work, if that makes sense. I'm just not going to talk through it. So this is your problem, and then kind of just follow the same format as the one before. And we're back. So now this is going to look kind of messy, but this is just on the left side is going to be it worked through with separating them into two separate equations. So we have 4x minus 2 equals 0, and then 3 plus x equals 0. And then it's just the algebra working all the way down to isolate our variable x. So x equals 2/4, which we have right here, and then we simplify that to equal 1/2 to get x equals 1/2 as our final answer. And this is just kind of like a note that you want to simplify as much as possible. It's just like a good habit for future problems and future for like harder problems as you work through. And then over here on this side, when we get to the 3 plus x equals 0, it's also just important to kind of remember that there's this invisible 1 hanging out in front of variables that seem like they don't have a coefficient, or like this 4x, this 4 right here is this 4 is the coefficient, whereas here you don't have a number. It's just important to remember that there actually is a invisible 1 hanging out right here, so you can divide by that negative in front of the x, and you get x equals negative 3. And then when you just move over to the right side, I just plugged both of those in to kind of just check the work and make sure that once you plug this x value back into the equation or this one back into the equation, they do both end up giving you a 0. So that's all for the zero factor property. And then the next video is just solving by factoring, but this one was getting pretty long. So